The following program is being presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of ALC-TV or the City of Avon Lake.
Hi, I'm Suzie Dills and welcome to Starry Trails Adventure Through the Stars. Every month we'll talk about cosmic highlights and take an adventure through the night sky. So don't forget to visit starrytrails.com for narratives, illustrations, maps, and you can pull up my audio on your smartphone as you head outside on a nice starry night in your very own backyard. So over the last couple months, we've had such a spectacular planet show. And our highlighted planet for the month of July will be the planet Mars. We are going to have the best views of Mars that we've had in 15 years. So this is a great time to get out there and on a starry night and check out those fantastic planets. Mars will reach opposition on July 27th, so it will be rising as our sun is setting. It will be visible from dusk to dawn, and we're going to have the best telescope views of Mars we've had since 2003. So if you have a backyard telescope or visit your local astronomy club like Black River Astronomical Society, you want to get out there because we're going to be able to see some of the surface features on Mars, because on July 31st, it will be closest to Earth in its orbit as it has been since 2003, and this will not happen again until 2035. So this is a really special time to get out, and it'll join Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn in our evening sky. It's just going to be spectacular the next couple months. So I just want to give you an idea now, when you head out, how are you going to orientate yourself and figure out which planet is which? So you're getting out there about 10 o'clock. Remember, our days are much longer now. Our sun sets around 9 o'clock. So you're going to face west, or direction of the sunset. You're going to turn to the left. You're going to look up. You're going to see a brilliant object. That is the planet Jupiter, and we've been looking at that for the last couple months. So get situated on Jupiter. Then you're going to just glide down a bit to the left. You'll see a bright red-orange star. That star is Antares, the heart of Scorpius. And then a little farther to the left, there'll be a golden-colored object, about the same brightness as Antares. That's the planet Saturn. And then a little bit beyond that, a brilliant red-orange object, that is Mars. So fantastic lineup. And if we put our constellation lines to that, I just want to share that because sometimes you can almost imagine how people pictured the patterns in the stars. So once we glide down from Jupiter, you're going to see almost looks like Scorpius and the tail of the scorpion. And then you'll get over to Saturn. You'll notice a pattern. It looks more like a teapot, but actually that's the constellation Sagittarius. And right at the tip of the teapot, the lid of the teapot, that's where you're going to find Saturn. And then just beyond that to the left is Mars. And when people imagined those patterns, these are the pictures that they saw. So you can almost picture Scorpius over there in the southern sky. So as far as the other planets go, Venus is in the western sky. So really, if you take that panoramic sweep from west to east, Venus is just the most brilliant of all of those. That'll be first, and then we'll go to brilliant Jupiter, golden-colored Saturn, and fantastic sparkling Mars over there in the southeast. So it can't get better than this really for planet viewing. So I hope you can get out on a nice clear summer night. And once again, Venus, western sky, it's going to make a pairing up with the crescent moon again. That's going to happen on July 15th, so another spectacular photo opportunity. Mercury, much dimmer, lower in the northwest. That'll be a lot more difficult to find. You might need binoculars to view that, but I just wanted to illustrate where you could find Mercury if you're out there hunting around for it. But the crescent moon and Venus, just unbelievably spectacular in that evening sky on July 15th. So our hike, let's get ready to go out on our hike. We're going to head out about 10 o'clock because remember, as I said earlier, our sun sets about 9 o'clock. So when it gets dark, you'll see the brighter stars popping out. But by 10 o'clock, we're going to be able to start connecting the stars and seeing the patterns out there. We may need to grab a light jacket. Of course, I always take out my bug spray on those summer nights, especially around dusk. And then all important, binoculars. And I will tell you too, at this time of year, you definitely want to take your binoculars out, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And then, of course, you're going to take out your Starry Trail Map. And remember, once you get orientated on your directions, whatever direction you are facing is going to be at the bottom of the wheel. So remember, the sun sets in the west, so that makes it easier. And grab your lawn chair, your blankets, because this really is the time when you have those binoculars that you can scan across the sky. You'll just be surprised how many stars you're going to see on a nice clear July evening. So we'll head off and we're going to look towards the western sky first. We're going to look for Venus again. That'll draw our attention. To the right of that, you may see a bright star. That's the star Regulus. That's in the constellation Leo. So Leo's really getting much lower now. It's about ready to set. And then looking up from where you see Venus and Regulus, you're going to see a bright yellow-orange star. That star is called Arcturus. Another easy way to find Arcturus, sometimes I locate the Big Dipper and I arc off the handle to Arcturus. And then we'll look up a little bit more. We'll see a semicircle of stars. That's called Corona Borealis, or the Northern Crown. And then a little farther up from there, overhead at this time of year, our bravest and strongest hero of all, Hercules. So if you live in a neighborhood where you have light pollution, if you have street lights, security lights, or you're close to a shopping mall or grocery store, boy, it's going to be tough to find Hercules. So anytime you can get out to a darker area or shield yourself from lights, you might be able to find Hercules. But he would be the keystone shape in the stars. So try and find that. It's going to be a challenge, but it's always great to see our bravest and strongest hero in our night sky. So now we're going to turn to the right. We're going to look for the Big Dipper, our most familiar pattern. And at this time of year, it's swinging down in the northwest. And remember, we've been talking the last couple months. Each season, we're going to see it in different positions. So remember how important that was to people long ago, because they could figure out time or seasons by just looking at that pattern. And we're going to take the two stars at the end of the cup. We're going to draw an imaginary line across to our most important star, the North Star, Polaris. That star helps us with direction and also latitude position. And then a little farther down to the right of the Little Dipper, Polaris, we're going to see that W shape, and that is the constellation Cassiopeia. And she will continue to climb up in the northeast over the next several months. And these are the constellation pictures that folks imagine as they looked up at the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, that are actually called asterisms. They are parts of larger constellations. So the Big Dipper would be a part of Ursa Major, the Big Bear, and Little Dipper is Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. And then you could see the queen down there on her throne towards the right corner of the image here. And a little farther to the right, we're going to make another turn. We're going to notice 3 bright stars in our eastern sky. Those would be Vega, Deneb, and Altair. Connect those, and they make up the pattern of the summer triangle. And we're going to check out a constellation actually that flies right into the middle of the summer triangle. That constellation is called Cygnus the Swan. So when I'm looking towards the eastern sky, I find Vega, that's going to be the brightest. And then I go down to the left from there, and that next brightest star is Deneb. Now I want you to imagine that's the tail of Cygnus the Swan. And the 3 stars to the right of Deneb are the outstretched wings. And then there's a star right below Vega. Imagine that to be the head of the swan. I'll show you an image here. So Deneb is the tail. The 3 stars would represent the outstretched wings and then the long neck and head. And the star that's a part of the head of the swan is a star called Albireo. And Albireo is really pretty neat to look at through a telescope. That's a double star. So one of the stars is a golden color and the other is blue. And you can absolutely see the difference in the colors of those 2 stars side by side. It's a great view through a telescope. And we'll certainly be looking at that in our next star party. Talk about the details in a couple seconds here. As far as our binoculars go, best time of year to get out with binoculars. So first of all, Jupiter. Remember, when you're looking at Jupiter, you get nice and steady, focus in, and you should see a few pinpoints of light around Jupiter, and those would be the large moons, the Galilean moons. So see if you can get nice and steady, maybe rest your arms on, sometimes I do it on a railing or a picnic table, something to steady you so you can get that nice good focus. And then we viewed the Hercules globular star cluster. We talked about that last month. This one's going to be a much harder challenge because you have to be able to locate Hercules. And once again, you're star hopping up from that star Arcturus. You find Hercules, the part of Hercules that faces the northern crown, Corona Borealis. That's where you'll see a fuzzy area, and that's the most spectacular globular cluster we're going to see in the northern hemisphere. And we said that's made up of about 300,000 stars. But great to even find it. It's a challenge. And then one of my favorite things to look at in summertime, and this is why I said you want to have that lawn chair out or maybe blanket, and you want to lay back. And we talked how we're going to find those 3 stars of the summer triangle. Because running right through the center of the summer triangle is that corridor of the summer Milky Way. So we look directly into the center of the Milky Way at this time of year. So it just stretches from the northern horizon all the way to the south, streaming right through the summer triangle. So find those 3 stars, scan around there from north to south, even to the left of where you're going to find Antares, the heart of Scorpius. Spectacular. You'll be surprised how many stars you're going to see from your backyard with a pair of binoculars. And as you get closer to the southern horizon by Scorpius, there are some really cool celestial deep sky objects that you're going to be able to see with binoculars. And it's just a fantastic time to just lay back and enjoy that night sky on a clear summer night. So coming up next month, we have 4 fabulous planets. We're still going to have Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars ruling the night sky, all the spectacular constellations, the summer Milky Way, and the peak of the Perseid meteor shower. And that happens on the night of August 12th. So we're having a star party at Walker Road Park, courtesy of Avon Lake Parks and Recreation. So bring those lawn chairs out, blankets, binoculars, We're going to have telescopes set up, snacks, bring snacks, maybe a light jacket, because we're just going to sit out and we're going to watch the show. You can come over and look through the scopes from time to time because we'll have all 4 planets. But we should be able to see quite a few shooting stars that evening. We have a nice open sky view at Walker Road Park. The party will start about 8:30. So hope to see you. Thanks so much for coming on our hike, and I'll see you next month.
The preceding program was presented to you by a community producer. The statements, views, and opinions expressed were not necessarily those of ALC TV or the City of Avon Lake.